These are really brutal lights.
Right, is everyone feeling okay about the video?
Aye.
I've accepted it.
Is this in response to the American podcast? We're like, right, we're going to up it.
They've brought a good game along, right? So we've kind of got to up things a bit.
Anything you can do, we can do better. Anything you can do, we can do better.
Did they do video?
They never did video, but we need to stay the original podcast, right?
How does it work then, Roy? With the edit, you will edit it.
Pardon me. Sorry.
Whoa,
Your pardon.
man! Anyone else need to get something out before?
That's one of many tonight because I'm gassy.
How does it change your process?
And you get four. Do you get 4 video streams as well as 4 audio streams?
I haven't done it before, but I imagine that's what
Well,
you
we
get.
need answers.
Well, I'll give you answers after the podcast.
Right.
And by the way, if it just comes out as audio, you know it's just. Hands up if you're wearing Crocs right now.
Oh God!
Hands up if you're wearing socks with those Crocs.
So airy. So airy.
Guess what? Guess what? Your Christmas present is from me, Roy.
Oh, a posh pair of Crocs.
Cheers, boys. Best of luck. It's been a minute.
Aye, best of luck. Cheers, everyone.
Many Glencairn.
Big hand or small Glencairn?
You know the truth.
Alright. 3, 2, 1. Hello, Dramfacers. Welcome to episode 31 of the Dramface podcast. Officially, this one is titled 500 Reviews and 500 More. Today we're joined by Rob, Roy and Gordo. How are we all?
Very well, thank you.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Good.
Good to be back.
I know, it's been a minute. Rob, you were joking. Is this season 4? Is it just...
Yeah, I completely lost track. I don't know what episode it is. Are we still doing Star Wars jokes?
I was just going to say, I think at one point we were joking. What would this now be? Is this Rogue One or is it... It can't be Ahsoka.
This is the new trilogy that everyone hates.
Oh.
Is there even a title to this episode?
500.
500.
Oh.
See,
I've not been listening again. Sorry.
Start again.
It's been a busy week.
Do we get where I went with the 500 reviews and 500 more?
1,000 reviews, is that? Is it maths?
Yeah. I think, yeah.
Is it maths? Because if it is, I'm out.
No, but you know, like the Proclaimers, 500 miles.
Oh, I missed that completely.
Oh.
No, I didn't get that.
How are we all though? How are we doing? Are we good?
Good. Really good.
Aye, good
Stuff.
Good.
To put Roy on the hook, this may be our first, potentially only podcast that actually comes out as a video podcast. Not to put any pressure on you, Roy, but as Roy joked, if you are only listening to this with no visual accompaniment, it didn't work. So, so there we go.
Faces for radio.
Die.
And I guarantee you I'll be very satisfied if it has worked. Usually on our YouTube channel, it's just an audio recording with a thumbnail, right? You can nip over to the YouTube channel and have a look. And if you see our faces, welcome. This is what we look like. Yeah, we'll all give a wee wave, will we?
Hello.
Aye. So we're giving it a go, and it's probably not going to be the recording of it that's the problem, right? It'll be the edit because
I don't know if we want to overcommit that every one will be a video. I think we'll see. We will see.
Yeah, let's wait and see.
Rob, what have you poured for today's podcast?
So I've gone for a calibrator based on what we're going to be talking about later on, but it's actually one that I purchased on the podcast. It's Altmore 12.
Oh, I remember that.
So this is obviously one that
Did you get it personalised?
I did, and it's probably a good thing we're on video. Roy owes me a $5.
Right, I'm about to send you another bottle, and it's going to say Roy still owes me a $5.
That's hilarious. Wait.
Yeah,
Talk to me about the customization or the personalization.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone remembers that episode, but obviously Roy was spouting off on Altmore 12 and how good it is, and I do agree it's a cracking dram, and it was being discontinued, and there's a few bottles left on the website, and there was a bug on the system, and you can only buy it with the £5 customization, and I thought, well, let's make the most of it. And yeah,
That's hilarious.
but well worth it though. I'm really chuffed with it. It's a lovely bottle. It's getting better and better actually as it goes down. It's about, you can see it. It's great this now.
I might pick up another one as well. I absolutely adore it. They brought out a anniversary edition 10-year-old.
That 10-year-old, I'm really tempted for that 10-year-old.
It's good, but I think I've had batches of the Altmore 12 that are better than it. But it's still very good.
Oh, I can't say I've had an Altmore. Gordo, have you sniffed it?
I've had an Altmore.
What was your take on it?
6 out of 10.
A 6 out of 10. Is that a Dramface score?
Please hold.
He's double checking to see what he scored there.
Oh, don't give too many breadcrumbs away now, though.
I know.
You can say to see who reviewed it. Scored
Oh. 5 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
Well,
That's a hot take.
did we not? There was conversations about a little bit of score creep or score drift.
Yes. It's been a busy week in the comments, if I'm honest. Yeah.
It's been fascinating.
Right, really good. Really good.
What's the general consensus been on score drift?
Do you mean you want me to tell you what I think about our scoring on Dramface?
Well, no, I think we've beat that. I remember when we first started, we were talking about but more at a certain point in the journey, the score is there, and a bit like Ralph. Ralphie's changed a little bit, right? He's kind of gone quite extreme with. He's starting to score down now.
Well, listen, it's almost. I don't know if we should even talk about it and just continue to let it happen. For every reviewer that I've ever come across in whiskey, it's happened to, right? They just continue along doing what they're doing, happy. And then eventually they reach a point where they go, shit, I'm scoring everything far too high. I've not left myself enough headroom,
Yeah.
To expand or to breathe here. I've got no elbow room. There's not, maybe Serge has managed to achieve it. I don't know. But I think that Serge would probably admit to maybe wanting to have the ability to go back in a race and rewrite scores in the past with no consequence, right? Ralphie's done it, but being Ralphie, he's just brutally said, right, this is what I'm doing, suck it up, right? So most recently in his Bal Blair 15, originally he scored that an 88, and then he said, today it's not changed at all, but it's an 82 now. So that gives you a big kind of metric to measure his other scores by there. That's quite a big thing, a big statement. That's how much he's choked it back. Now, I don't know what his reasoning for that is, whether he suspects that in the future he's going to taste much nicer whiskies as all the new independent distillers have more and more mature product. But I suspect it's just to give himself a bit more wiggle room.
Yeah.
He's ended up in a very tight alley there of scoring everything between maybe 84 and 91 or something like that. So that's where Ralph is at. But we've seen it for everyone. I remember this discussion happening in the early days of YouTube. It certainly happened to me in the recycled reviews. But I started the recycled reviews, I don't know if you guys remember, with a column that said, changed my mind, specifically to address that, the ability to change your mind on the score.
It's natural, isn't it? It's natural because I've just done it recently in one of somebody's reviews on Dramface, where I realised the problem is, right, when you're drinking whiskey, you have to start somewhere, and that's your reference point. And your reference point is the baseline to which you then appraise stuff going forward. And so you end up using that reference point for everything, and you get to a point where it just keeps getting better because you're enjoying it more, or people are bringing out nicer stuff, or you're seeking out the stuff that resonates with you. So you're always going to score it a bit higher anyway because it's for you. And then you do get to the point where you go, I've not got any more headroom to do stuff. So, I've said everything that was, say, an 8 out of 10 will now be a 7 out of 10 in future because I need that space to appraise new stuff coming out. Otherwise, it would be 10s out of 10s all the time. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think you're right. As your palate develops, your opinions develop. I think you become better at honing in what it is you like. You obviously become more versed in whiskey, and you know kind of what to look for. I mean, God, I cringe at some of the stuff I used to say on this podcast right at the start, and I think it's. But I think
Me
I don't
too.
think I was wrong. I don't think I was wrong.
Well, no, you weren't wrong. You weren't
Well,
wrong.
in that moment, I wholeheartedly believed
Mhm.
it. I'm not going to repeat any of it now, but in the context of Dramface, because so much effort is put into the review, like we top and tail the review with the score, and I think that's a guideline. That's like just a general like this. We have our own, we have quite a fixed criteria, unlike of what each score means, and that score is interpreted by the reviewer. But there's also about 800 words to elaborate
I
on
wish.
that 7 out of 10. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a writer. I don't even know 800 words. And I think that's the key thing. It's like, it's just a too long didn't read. Nice little number to tie it all off with, but it can change. I mean, I know some people decide to take points off price, for example. I use the Dramface score for my own personal reviews, but I don't take score into consideration. And I rarely change them as well. If I liked it, that's what it was. I don't re-review it until I've tried a new one. I don't review them in context to each
Yeah.
other either. So,
Gordon, you articulated what I was kind of getting at as well, which was it's a singular person's review.
Mm-hmm.
That singular person, that it's also at that point in time, right? To your point,
Yeah.
the reference point has now changed as well, and
Yeah.
I've added 10 more whiskies to my database that you can't help but compare to, or those will influence how you then measure. So it's a funny one. That is there another way of doing it? Is there a Dramface team score? It's an aggregate as a separate thing.
We're all human. We're human, and we get involved in stuff that pleases us more and more the more we do it. And you're only ever going to just find the good in stuff because it's a great positive world to be in. And to get too serious about it and go, yeah, you guys are scoring everything nines. Who cares? I love it,
Mhm.
and I want to score a 9, and I think it's worth a 9, and blah blah blah. But it's not so much about the blowback; it's about giving the writer space to then say, "Hang on a minute." Yeah, the very truthful example is Ardnamurchan for me. I started off with their core bottle, and it was a 7 out of 10. You go from there, you've got 3 levels to go to. Now, the stuff that they're bringing out now is great compared to that core bottling, but I've started at a 7. So in one of the reviews somebody wrote on Dramface recently, at the bottom I've introduced a new scale because everything should drop down a score. So that core range bottling that was a 7 is now a 6. Good stuff, because the scale is shifting, the goalposts are moving, and we
Yeah,
need to move with it. It's got nothing to do with anybody saying you always score it a 9 out of 10.
sure.
It's giving the writer space to go, in comparison to the stuff that I have tried, this means this.
Yeah,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and I think the point was made as well somewhere. I can't remember if it was in said article or another, but the product is also getting better, right?
Mhm.
Like particularly with newer distilleries, they've learnt at the
Yeah.
front end, the first few years, and stuff has got better, will get better.
Yep, because we strive to do better things. We're
And
human.
it's not always just about learning. It's just the fact that maybe with the case of the core range Ardna, they're able to add more mature stock into the vatting now.
Mm.
So maturity and time's having a hand in it as well as their learning curve, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's. I think it's healthy to take a moment and just say, "Hang on, where are we now? Where are we in the landscape of where things are now? Right, okay, we need to adjust things a wee bit, because if we carry on this way, everything is just going to get squeezed into those last 3 levels,
Mm-hmm,
and it will not have the same value as if you just took a breath and said, you know what, let's open it back up again. Let's widen our scale just to give ourselves a wee bit more scope.
That's why I'll mention is that the writers are independent. They are buying the bottles they are reviewing for the
Yeah.
most part. We are not getting boxes and boxes of little samples from distilleries saying, please review our stuff. And we're going to we'd always score a very honest review, but because the reviewers are buying the bottles, they're reviewing something they have spent their own money on and they want to drink.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to like it. I mean, who's buying whiskey just to give it a negative score, if not to make some sort of commentary? But on the whole, it's...
And honestly, I find that from a personal perspective, I find it much easier to write about things that I love and I can be positive about. So that's a hole that you can easily fall down as well. But let's forget about that. Just the whiskies that we're buying, we're much more informed now, the more mature we are in our kind of exploration, right? So the chances of us buying duds these days become slimmer as time goes on. A confession though, I change some of the scores and the submissions. Only with the agreement of the writer.
Oh.
So I'll go back to them and I won't change it because I don't agree with the score. I won't read it and say, wait a minute, this is a 5. I think it should be a 7 at least. Go back and negotiate with them. I just let it go out as a 5. Whatever their score is their score. The only reason I'll push back is if the words don't match the score. So we talk at length about the context that we give the thing in Dramface. And if they give something a 9 and they've been raving about it, that matches a 9, then fine. If they've been pretty lukewarm about something and it's a 7, then probably it's a 5 or a 6. So that's the only time I go back. And usually, I've never run into any kind of conflict over that. You know, they've probably gone back and read over their stuff again and come back and went, yeah, that sounds fair. So occasionally, that's the only kind of protection layer that we put in there. Rob's right. They're buying and they're reviewing their own whiskey that they've paid for. And their score, they agonise over that score. They don't just chuck a score at it.
I was just about to say that.
They really think. They know what we've already touched upon, Rob. If you're embarrassed about what you said in the early days of the podcast, or if you wish you could go back and change it, you already know, you already feel what the reviewers feel, because when they put it out there, it's there for posterity. We're not going to go back after the publication date and change a score. We're not. So it's there. They have to stick by it. Plus the fact they're very aware that people are spending money on bottles. Or they're also aware that something is loved, and they're maybe a bit nervous about saying, no, this is only a 5. I don't know why this was recommended to me, you know. So scoring remains a contentious issue.
Well, I'll say attaching a definitive number to something is very hard. It's very hard because you know that somebody's going to go, I don't think that's the case. And often...
And they'd be right.
Yeah. And sometimes I think, I just don't think it's that. But it feels like it is there because the words match that. So it's putting it that's why I think it's so important to have the context around that score, and why I think Dramface is so exciting, because you get to see the reasoning behind it, not just this is the score, thank you.
What was it about a whiskey you were finding hard to place a score to? Question 1. Like, what was difficult about that? The other would be what had been the biggest swing where you were starting to think it was this number? Like, was there a swing of 2 points? 3? Please discuss.
Question 1. What was the question 1?
What was the most challenging whiskey?
Yeah.
But why? What was challenging about trying to place a number on it?
I think it's the polar opposites that are the most difficult. You know, if something is mediocre, it's mediocre. It's a 6 or it's a 5. If something is really grabbing you, like, whoa, this is exciting, then you've got to start thinking, oh, is that a 9? Or if it's rubbish, you know, how far down you go. So for something like the Gospel, when I got that early on, it was rubbish. And I was tempted to go to a 1. And I think Roy was the one that said, hang on a minute, just calm your jets. I don't think it's a 1. So I think the polar opposites, if it's crap or if it's excellent, that's where the difficulty comes in, because you don't want to give it a 10 when it's maybe a 8. So it's, I struggle when, the most I struggle is with Ardnamurchan, because I am now on bottle number 49 that I've drunk through of Ardnamurchan. That's a lot of whiskey, and it's a lot of reference points. So when I come to score something that I think is really Jazzy Jeff, I get into the kind of dilemma of where does it sit in that very small space.
Mm.
In terms of big swings, I don't know. The biggest swings come when something's not for you and you try to discover where it should sit in reference to point to other rubbish things you've had, maybe.
Mm.
But I think the problem is now everything is sought from a position of I know what I'm looking for. So I'm never really unless somebody says try that and it's no for me. There's no really much scope now to get a low score because I can't afford to go out and buy stuff that I know might not be for me. I just can't afford that. I mean, the tomatin was the biggest wake up call for me that I spent that amount of money and it was not for me. So from that point, I've really been a lot more careful. So I guess that's when the scale change comes into play because you're starting to limit your worldview down to certain things that you like, and so your scale then must shift because in the early days I was scattergun and everything, and lots of things were not for me. So I was able to get that, I was able to utilize the Dramface scale a lot more. Whereas now, as I'm kind of getting into, I can't afford to do everything, and I really know what I like. You are going to start compressing that scale down, and so you have to shift the reference point accordingly.
So much to talk about on this topic. Really.
That's good. It's good. It's a good one. Gordo, with
Yes,
that, what is in your glass and what score would you give it?
Well, hey.
Well, I had poured a turntable all my life, but I've forgotten the bottle next door. And that is no dingo to go through there. So what I'm going to do is pour another one. And this is a wee something that I got. It's a wee Diddy bottle. To try and make
one.
You did say Diddy. Yeah.
I did, didn't I?
Context is everything, big guy. Come on. We talk about this all the time.
Cut that out. This is a very small bottle that I got to make up the postage for another bottle I've got over there.
It's not on a white label. It's not dressed in all white, is it?
I just got Diddy now. I just got it. I had a Wolfburn. I've not had any Wolfburn either.
Neither have I. So I thought I'm going to try this because it was £25 and it made the postage free, which is a false thing to do anyway. But it's a Wolfburn Aurora Sherry Oak, 46%. Yep.
A little bit light, no? Light for sherry, let's see.
Yeah, really light for sherry.
No bad thing.
It's all on your point of reference, Roy.
And it goes. There it is. I don't know about... Wolfburn has never been on my radar ever. But I love the fact it's in a wee 35cl, a wee half bottle, because it means I can try it for £25. And if it's no for me, I've no wasted £70. So I think more people should be doing this wee small bottles.
The maths of that: £25 for a half bottle, £70 for a full bottle.
Did I say it? Yeah, did I not say maths? I'm out here.
You did. You're a creative.
Thank you.
It's not a requirement to be good at maths.
Thank you.
But you're spot on. You're spot on. And I've kind of relaxed a little bit about small bottles. However, I realised the problem with them. 50cl is probably the worst. If you've got 35cl, you just need to buy 2 to be able to share it with 30 people at a tasting, right? A 50cl bottle, you've got to buy 2 of those, and that's awfully dear. So another problem for a 50cl bottle. So did you give it a score?
Yeah, I didn't. It was just having it for the first time.
This is like
neck pour. Okay, we'll come back to that then.
2 out of 10.
What was the 2? There we go. Rapid. I love it. There's no indecision there. What's the ABV? Did you say
46?
46.
46, non-chill filtered, natural colour. It says Aurora.
It's named, not aged, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Double distilled in small stills for fuller flavour. Matured and bottled at Wolfburn Distillery, Thurso, Scotland.
There's
Pretty good.
There's not much up there.
Come on now. It's fantastic to go up there. Really nice.
You'll not get me saying anything negative about the Highlands.
No. Me neither.
Thank you.
Roy, what's in your glass?
Curiously, I am sipping. I'm on my second glass of the Butcher's Apron. So I'll try and hold that up. This is the Thompson Brothers. Everyone's just calling this the
The
Tesco,
Tesco bottle. I love that.
This doesn't want to focus, does it? Is it focused?
Oh, it's
What was the
bubble
make-
over again.
What's the
Yeah.
makeup of
Aye.
it?
So this is 50% Glenord, 50% Clynelish.
Mm.
There's an age statement on this. 8 years old. This is 35 quid, Gregor. £35 for 8-year-old.
Oh, aye.
Blended malt.
Pretty
50-50.
good.
Right. Now here's where I put it to you. You can be my panel tonight. Gregor, you've not tried it, but I think Robin and Gordon. No, not okay. Only Rob's tried it then. Okay. Objectively, if you put a glass of this in front of me blind, I would probably score it a 5.
Oh.
I might even now the second one, which is a wee bit lesser ABV, 44.4 for the second batch, 44.5 for the first batch. The first batch might even be a 4.
Oh my God.
And
That's a hot take.
Listen, it is a hot take. I really want to stay pals with Phil and Simon Thompson because I find every discussion and interaction I have with them utterly fascinating, right? I want to support all of their philosophies and everything that they do, and their creativity knows no bounds. But let's not dress this up here. This is session whiskey. That's what they've given it. Right? This is 44.5, 44.4% ABV. And it's good quality malt that tastes a bit young. It's a bit sharp, right? However, in the context of being able to pick up a good drinking malt that a lot of us can enjoy, especially those who love spirit character and who quite enjoy this style of whiskey, to be able to pick that up and enjoy it and share it and pour it at £35, that didn't exist until they launched this product. So then the scoring is like, well, what are you actually scoring, Mr. Dramface? You know, what are you scoring here? Are you scoring the quality of the liquid, or are you scoring the cost of ownership, the value of the ownership of the thing, the whole experience? And that's why people need to read the words, because every writer is going to have their own unique take on things. But even an individual writer might have 2 different takes on 2 different whiskies coming at it from different angles, purely because of the cost of ownership or how much they had to pay to get a hold of it, or 100 other reasons. It's all going to change our relationship with the bottle and how we interact with that whiskey. This is session whiskey, right? It goes up against Glenmorangie's 10-year-old. That's what it needs to be judged against. And in that light, you know, you score it along those lines. The second batch, I'm surprised I'm picking up such a difference tonight, but I think the second batch is just a wee bit less jaggy around the edges, a wee bit less raw, a wee bit less new-makey. But yeah, coming at it tonight, it's bang average on the score for Dramface from an objective perspective, but from an emotional perspective, and I'm glad to have it perspective, it scores higher.
Right. The designer in me would posit, did they not know that also? And that is why it has a Tesco
value.
label.
It's exactly what it's about. It's exactly what it's about. There's no dressing this. It's literally the most obvious inside joke there's ever been. But you would never. There is a wee bit of a problem, right? And it's quite a fun thing to do, to have a £35 whiskey that you can take along to your pal's barbecue. But there is a sense of shame in it, unless you're in on the joke and you can explain it and say it looks like this for this reason, and you can do that. So
I guess you've got to put aside your bias of the search for quality and, you know, authenticity with something like that. Let me try and understand what I'm trying to say here. We're always banging on about smell and taste and, you know, what you're getting for what you're paying, whereas that is just a don't even think about it dram. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Let's just skip this and we'll come back to something else.
no, I think I do know what you're trying to say.
So I don't think about it.
It's a session whiskey. That's what it is.
I had a
It's-
point there, but I've forgotten what I was going to say. It was to do with the Thompson Bros willingly putting it out as a value thing.
Well, there's no segue I can toss you, Gordon, but I'll just
Yeah.
redirect the conversation to me. What's
What
in
are you
your
drinking,
glass?
Greg?
There we go. Funnily enough, I'm drinking a Thompson Brothers.
Here we go.
This the
No.
TBB is
No. The level in the bottle betrays the enjoyment. I'll let you continue, big guy.
this is tremendous stuff. The
Mm.
TBBSW.
Oh, aye.
It's,
Which batch is it, by the way?
How would I
Back
know?
underneath the
It's on the
barcode.
back.
Teeny wee
Yeah,
writing at the back label.
Oh, batch 10.
Whoa!
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I didn't realise they'd done that many.
Well,
Jesus.
hang on, because I need to go and grab my other bottle because I was that scared about how good this was.
They're almost identical.
I got
Greg.
another
They're
one.
Almost identical.
The one I had was a batch 1
Yeah.
that I got off at auction.
And then I've got batch 14 waiting to be
Oh
opened.
my god!
But
Jesus.
I will say this,
Really?
I'll be buying another one when I'm back in the UK. It's that good. It's, I mean,
That's a
how
session
much does
dram.
how much does it go for? I forget.
35 quid.
35, 40 quid.
Yeah, 35, 38 quid.
I don't know that you could better that. That might
No,
be a
it's
contender.
impossible. That is, there
Mhm.
will be a time in the not so distant future that we will all be looking back on the Thompson Brothers 6-year-old TBBSW and think it's a legend. It's already a
Oh, yeah.
classic legend whiskey, and it's the product of serendipity. It's not going to last forever. They're not.
It,
It doesn't make sense to do what's happened there.
I need to be careful saying this with the missus in the other room, but it's the only bottle I've bought multiples of.
14 bottles.
Aye. It's tremendous. It delivers everything I need from a sherry bomb. And it's 6 years old. That's incredible.
How do you feel that you're drinking a blended Scotch?
I'm perfectly fine when it tastes like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's the words in it.
love it.
It's fantastic. Yeah, I might have to. Yeah. Do we know when this might fade away?
I asked when I was there, and they said we've still got plenty of it at the moment. And that's all that I didn't
Okay.
push, So
I mean, batch 14, that's crazy. I didn't realise they've done so many.
mhm.
And Roy, you're saying all pretty much in the same profile. Same
I've
space.
detected no real batch drift worth noting,
Okay.
and certainly not anything that I couldn't easily put down to me.
Super. Thompson Brothers, you're doing good stuff. So I doff my hat. So back to the theme. 500 plus 500 more. Gordon, what does that make?
2,000.
There we go. We're halfway to 2,000 reviews.
We're 3 years too early for the podcast.
Aye. What a tremendous milestone. 4-digit review count.
Crazy.
It's huge.
It's dreamy. It's pinch myself dreamy. It's wonderful. Really, really cool.
It's great. It's great. And Wally wrote quite a touching write-up about it. I like that Wally didn't let anyone else go near the writing of that milestone.
No chance.
Wasn't it all circumstantial?
It was.
Aye.
Well, I mean,
Oh, look at that.
there was lots of ideas about what to do for that thing. It doesn't matter. We don't need to go into it, but it's just like, no, there is a breadth of knowledge out there in the community that knows much, much more than any individual. And if there's ways to harness that, and if there's ways to expose that, that's the kind of project that we want. There's another podcast out there just now. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's the Dramface podcast. It's some Americans, and I think there's an Australian involved and something like that. But I don't know if you've heard it, but they're calling themselves the Colonials podcast. And there's a moment in it that choked me up. Emotionally. I almost choked at it. And it's Adam. He's probably the quietest in that particular podcast. And it was just put to him, how do you feel about writing for Dramface? Because that's something I worry about all the time. I want people to have fun doing it, right? Look, heaven knows they're not getting paid for their time. And he pauses. There's just this kind of perfectly timed pause where he's trying to describe it. And he changes the timbre of his voice and everything and just says it's cool. I just think it's cool. And I got really emotional at that because I was like, Jesus. If they're doing this thing, if everybody's pitching in to create this thing, and we're all sitting back looking at it and going, this is cool, then that is literally the definition of cool, right? It can't get any better. A wee bit like the Thompson Brothers 6-year-old, it's not going to last forever. We need to work at it to keep it going as long as we can, to keep everybody jazzed to be part of it, and thinking and feeling that it's cool. When I write for Dramface, I think differently. I approach everything differently. I think it's got so much to do with the fact that I can do it as someone else, a persona, right? I step into the Dramface space and I enjoy every minute of it. I enjoy you guys, I enjoy the team, I enjoy the chat, and just the product that we put out. Every day is different. It's all over the bandwidth of whiskey, right? And I just look at it and I can't believe that I'm part of it. It's just a pure treat to be able to talk to people and say we've hit 1,000 reviews, putting out daily content. It's beyond, it's just fabulous. So all very self-indulgent, all very kind of introspective, all of that stuff. But come on, 1,000 reviews in just under 3 years. I think we deserve it. That's all right.
I agree. What if Dramface is in a car and it's in gear? What gear do you feel we've achieved by getting to 1,000 and the momentum that we're in?
Are you asking me?
Aye.
That's interesting.
How many gears are there?
Yeah.
6. Let's say it's a fun car.
I think we're cruising. I think we take it in our stride. The writers aren't rushed. There's no pressure on anybody to do anything. It's all for the love and the enjoyment of doing it. I think if we said we're in first top gear, 6th gear, whatever, and like we're barreling through it and we're rushing to get 1,000, I don't think that's true. I think we are just doing it as we all do with whiskey. It's one dram at a time, and just taking it in our stride. And I think, again, I'm not a writer, but personally for me, when we found out we were going to hit 1,000, that was a massive shock. I was like, there's no way we've just blinked through 1,000 reviews so seemingly so quickly. It doesn't feel like we've hit 3 years. It still feels really fresh.
Yeah.
And
so you're in top gear. Rob, I would have suggested to you winter time last year, run up to Christmas. I would have agreed with you. And then January, Fletcher joins us and completely affects the tone in such a credible way that I think it had a bit like Doogie Crystal's photography and whimsical writing might have had an effect on the site way back in the early days. Fletcher joining gave us a whole new dynamic because the way he was speaking, implicit and all of his words made it clear that he had some industry experience too. And the things that his really direct way of putting things gave us another. The places that we were being shared through Fletcher's articles, let's say, are not typical places that Dramface content was being shared before. And that meant that they were then exposed to other content, the regular content in Dramface. So I've got people in the industry coming up to me now and saying, that's a good job. You're doing a good job, more of that. Probably they're uncomfortable reading some of it, but they're, let's say they're complimentary about it. So we were in 6th gear in December last year. We've just found a 7th gear, I think. And so who's to say that the next stage for Dramface, something else to come along, another opportunity, like, I don't know, a diversification of the podcast, or you just never know what's going to happen. Maybe we'll go video on the podcast. Maybe there'll be a rival Dramface podcast, something like it. It's constantly changing it. So I agree with you, Rob. We're in a very good place. We feel like we're cruising. There's a lovely workflow right now. It's all ticking over. The balance is great.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to, if we can all work together and to maintain that as long as the energy and motivation allows, then I think we're doing all right.
Here's a question. We know whiskey's seasonal, right? Or the
Yes, definitely.
intensity of it.
Oh yeah.
Does that then reflect on the number of articles people are writing? So do people start writing more as we get into fall, autumn?
Do you know how to measure how active the writers are in Dramface? How often is Wally contributing? So if Wally has to fall out his hammock and put in some articles, right, probably the tank's running a wee bit dry.
Mm-hmm.
I think we never want to be in a position where we're kind of shouting at people, shaking the tree to try and get things to drop. They drop when they're ready. But there have been times that the articles have been finished the day before, the night before that they go out. And that's the summer slump.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it everywhere in whiskey. We see it right across social media, YouTube, everywhere. And we certainly see it in the whiskey consumption of the writers in Dramface. Whereas now, we've got a considerable chunk of copy to get through to edit for next week and prep up for next week. That's the best position to be in.
I think it's taken me 3 years to not start the article about creating your whiskey cabinet that I once threatened to do.
Yeah, that's right. It's not 3 years yet. Can we say February 17th is our 3-year anniversary. So we're quite a wee bit away from that yet, I think. We're only just over 2.5.
Hey, we should have
I started writing my first article before the site was even live, and it still hasn't progressed any further. So
surely at 3 years, surely we should be putting out a whiskey, a Dramface whiskey, 3 year mark.
Ralphie and this is one of the things, is that see, you have Ralphie giving us a shout out like he does. Like he did on the channel this week. Ralphie doesn't do that. Does anyone ever remember a day that Ralphie's held something up and said, I want to recommend this? He doesn't do it. So for him to have spent time with Dramface and trust it, that says a lot.
Yeah, not just him. Daniel Whittington gave us a little shout out.
I was just about to say. And he's on board. He's a member. He's financially supporting us now. He's got his face in the banner. He loves the vibe of it. He loves it. He thinks it's genuine good work to be encouraged. Pip Hills came out of nowhere and said, this is fantastic. We love what you guys are doing. That's just amazing to have people like that. And there's just kind of countless more kind of handshakes and well done on it. And so it's a wee bit of a shame that so many of the writers are kind of anonymous faces in the crowd. Because it would be nice if people knew who they were and they could feel that sense of gratitude. That is one of the kind of downsides to it. But I don't think any of them really mind it. In fact, I picked up on a kind of just this really kind of nice comfort of being in company where people bring up or just drop Dramface and they're just kind of in the company and nobody really knows. So you've got that real genuine sense of feedback as well.
You have that little glint in both your eyes as you look and you go, yeah. We know.
And nervousness. I hope they don't say anything negative.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
It's very cool.
Great stuff. Well, before we segue to our I Am A Distillery,
what's in your glass, Rob?
I did Altmore.
Yeah,
Altmore.
no, we chat. Yeah, Altmore.
You did.
Altmore. Yeah, it's been.
Right, I need to go to bed for a weekend.
Right, that's it. Season 4's over.
What you really need, Roy, what you need is the highest proof whiskey that you could pour. That'll sort you out. Yeah, that's in the next episode. No, I was going to say we did have, before we go to I Am A Distillery, and Gordon, I think you had one last recording, so you are on the hook for this week's. I did check the Dramaphone from
Oh,
break over
Oh,
the summer.
oh.
And I'll first apologise to Martin Fielder that I didn't bring it in before now. I can't remember quite when you recorded this, but Martin
Good guy, Martin.
great guy, posed a little question. So I'd like to play his note. It cuts off a little at the end, but we get the gist of it. And then if we could band that around for a second before we go to I Am A Distillery.
okay.
Hey, Dramface, Gregor and Roy, and anybody else who's listening. This is Martin Fielder in Texas. How are y'all doing? Enjoyed the last podcast, number 27. Great job, guys, and good job adding Gus to the mix. One question, or one thing I thought would be a good topic for an upcoming Dramface is, I know you guys have talked about visiting the festivals before, but what about just overall whiskey tourism in Scotland? From the traveler's mindset, how to set up a whiskey trip to Scotland, what things to consider, timing, which distilleries are visitor friendly, how to organize this, who should we use, et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of your listeners would are planning or considering or.
It cuts off, but I think we get the point. So thanks for that, Martin. I do feel like we've touched on it maybe in previous podcasts, but no harm in refreshing. I think it would just kick around what are the main key points when you're planning at the planning stage. Would kick that around. Like what are the big ticket items? What's the?
I personally feel that topic is worthy of an entire podcast. Really, I mean, it's so.
It's too weighty.
It's just so. It's so. There is lots to share and lots to say there. I mean, I think a lot of it's obvious and it's maybe been covered before, but it doesn't. There's always new people coming in, and I think if there was a session dedicated to that, it would almost be a kind of good little anchor point to point people towards.
Mm-hmm.
And Martin did actually age that comment there by talking about the episode that Gus was on, right?
Yeah.
Gus has now been stolen by the Colonials. I think it's we could. Do you want us to touch on it just now, big guy? Do you want us to?
No, I think if we think it's worth a dedicated episode, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
I'm happy to bank that. There's a few. There's a little list of themes for our podcast. Maybe giving the listeners some perspective on it. I think we definitely owe you all an episode. Chocolate pairings. We did kick that around. So that will be coming up. I would like to bring a few new voices or a few familiar but guest voices into that one.
Well, here's a proposal on that. You're coming in November. Dramface pays you to buy the chocolate, and you buy and distribute the chocolate, so we're all eating the exact same thing this time. Oh no, wait, that would mean it's American chocolate. Scratch that.
Take that.
Or you maybe buy the chocolate when you're here or something, or you tell me what to buy.
Bring some American chocolate.
Yes.
Well, I was thinking about that. We'll need a think tank on it, because you want, with any of these things, it's cool for the listener to just listen along, but I think they want to play along, so we want to make it accessible. So I think we don't go too niche. I think we need to get something that everyone can get. So, and
tell it if we were able to tell them in advance the chocolate that we're going to be enjoying with what drams. Yeah.
Well, if that's the case, then we should get some American chocolate involved, because we can get Hershey's in the UK, and the idea of pairing Hershey's vomit chocolate with like a lactic whiskey. That actually sounds quite interesting.
Vomit chocolate.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, when we did the cheese one, I made you all try blue cheese and sherry.
Yeah, you did.
And that was,
Scotty's never forgiven.
Had to be done.
So there's that. There's the chocolate pairing coming. Okay, it sounds like we need to do merits, given a deep dive into planning a trip, planning your whiskey travels, and then I would throw out maybe, Roy, if we are good with my blend it like Beckham concept, I'm happy to throw out the bottles now so that people could start to get them together. I think if only you all could see the chat that it takes to align on 3 bottles. What I would say is we've got a concept to explore blending, just a little bit of fun, having fun with our whiskey. To do that, you're going to want 3 bottles. We tried to pick stuff people would have. I'm hoping you've got one of at least 3, and then you can maybe pick up the other 2 and keep them fairly affordable. So the bottles would be a Glenmorangie 10 or 12, right? It's now gone to 12. The second would be a Glenallachie 10 cask strength. And the third one, we wanted to go quite heavy peated, would be a Lacheg 10. So those 3 bottles, listeners, you, in the next little while, if you want to play along with that episode, you'd do well to get those bottles. That might come next month, whenever that is. But aye, just giving everyone a heads up. And it's funny because I see Roy writing down his homework now, even though it's in the chat. But
yeah, I've paid less attention to what we actually said.
Great. Anyway, let's bank that. Martin, thank you for the question. And a good segue, that Dramaphone is still live. If ever you've got questions you want or to join the podcast in that way, please do it. It cuts you off at a minute, so think about what you're going to say before you call. With that, then we'll switch over to Gordo with I Am A Distillery as you roll around and you're on video fumbling.
Here we go.
Oh, okay.
I'm ready.
So maybe a wee refresher again, just in case. 10 questions ranging from the most obscure to why have you not guessed it yet? You've got 1 shot to shoot. Have at it.
Question number 1. I am a distillery.
No, I'm joking.
Now. Question number 2. I was built 30 years past the turn of the 19th century.
Talisker.
Question number 3.
I've gone, haven't I? Okay, continue, please.
I'm going to have video this time.
Question number 3. I was rebuilt 50 years later.
Oops.
Question number 4. I was rebuilt 60 years later.
What?
Question number 5.
No.
I have a peculiar bend in my arms.
Oh, enough about you.
Thank you. What are you saying, like? Question number 6. I am regarded as the king of drinks by 1.
By 1?
1. Question number 7. I once had a whiskey named after a lighthouse.
No.
Okay, question number 8.
No.
I am visible from the sea.
Eh?
See, you're stuck with me and Gregor now.
Question number 9. I live on an island.
we are so bad at this.
Yeah. This is for the listeners' enjoyment. On you go.
Question number 10, Roy.
1 sec. That's the last one. Let me just guess.
Go on in.
Razzie.
Okay.
It's an island.
It is. Well done, you.
Thank you.
It's only been built once, Rob.
There we go then. Another thing to add to the list of the embarrassing things I said in the podcast.
I mean, at least she's offered something. I offered nothing. I'm not going there. Is it Talisker then?
Question number 10. I am Talisker.
Oh, you.
Ah.
He got that in number 2. I mean, this
Hey,
is. I was
was
built
close.
30 years past the turn of the 19th century, and he went, I know the very one.
Right. It's not popular. I know it's not popular. I'm not
Do you-
making friends.
I mean,
but
come on. What do you have to say for yourself?
I apologise.
Thank you.
I apologise to all the listeners, and I'm realising if this makes it out in video, I apologise to all the watchers. I didn't know how to react, which is why I looked away. The poker face was gone. I covered my face with my hoodie. Oh, well, there's just...
I think I get a nice second place because I literally picked the second closest distillery to Talisker. So,
Oh,
I mean, what was the thought process here? Take us through it, because the first question was I am a distillery. The next question was, and you do the math, it was in 1830. Immediately
Yeah.
you thought Talisker.
yeah,
Why?
because Talisker, I think, is the only distillery founded in 1830.
There we go. There we go.
he's a whiskey savant.
No, because
just
every
can't.
other week it's in the bucket, right? It's just either Gregor is frozen or that is pure disgust.
I just
It's a lie.
realised you've now, I think you've gone into double digits on the winning scores of I Am A Distillery.
See, that's what I mean. I'm just losing friends.
is-
It's like that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Aye.
It's like,
Question 2, though. You could have had on for a wee bit.
I mean, Scotty's done that to me
so
as
it's
well.
just not being. It's just because I wasn't cool about it. I'll try.
I think we should rename this Stump Roy, and they start
Yeah.
getting really hard, and they're from the community.
No,
Stump
but
Roy.
that's here's the danger, right? And that's why I just went away and shut up, because I think that we're playing along here, but it's for the people listening in.
Aye.
It is.
And it's for me to say Talisker right at the outset. It's probably not cool, right? But I can edit it so that it sounds like I didn't get it.
No. We need everyone to know that you know that Talisker is the only distillery in Scotland to be founded in 1830.
Well, I'm not 100% sure.
Aye, you
But-
were. Enough to say Talisker. Question 2.
Yeah,
That's great.
I tried my hardest in those 5 minutes before we went live as well.
No, you did really well. That's great. It's better than mine, and I've got next week's or next episode. So
Neist Point is the lighthouse.
East Point, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
East
the
Point.
line arms have a U bend,
Aye, a wee loop.
and they have purifiers on the stills.
Right, that's enough of that, okay? You've had your
Three-
say.
Three wash. No. 2 wash stills, 3 spirit stills.
I didn't get that
flexing.
far.
Five
Flexing now.
stills.
We're flexing. You're flexing.
Yeah.
It was a fire. There was a fire that raised it, and so it was built, and then it was rebuilt 50 years later, and it was had a fire, and then it had to be rebuilt again.
I wasn't sure about that stuff. I didn't know about that.
Mm.
Well, I'm telling you, it's the truth.
Well, thank you for the nuggets of wisdom.
You're welcome.
Superb. Well done, Roy. You're
Well
not
done,
bringing
Roy.
You're not bringing next week's though. We're done with you.
Yeah, your enthusiasm, your joy at me winning it on the first factoid is just oozing at every pore.
Aye.
It's wonderful to consume. Thank you, boys.
We're so happy for you, Roy.
Thank
So happy.
you.
Well, thanks everybody, and thank you all listeners. We hope there was some morsel of value on this podcast for you. Failing that, come back next week where we're going to be talking about hot whiskies and hot takes
And hot men.
and hot men. Until
Oh
then,
dear.
cheers all. Slanger.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Lunch.
Cheers.
Cheers. Hot men. God's
Oh, man.
What about it?
Gross.
We are really running into episode 2, aren't we?
Yeah. I've never been so happy about something and then just had it stripped right out you. It's just like... It's like...
Sorry.
just like
My question to you, and it was like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
Was
a
I right?
thought.
Was I right? Was I right? Aye, you're right. You're a dick.
It was so quick, I couldn't believe it. I tried to not let my face betray me. My astonishment.